Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, on this morning's episode of Bullet Points, we are going to take a look at something that I can only really explain and describe as pretty much a terror campaign, a psychological terror campaign from gun controllers to Democratic gun control supporters. Now, we know that the left really motivates around emotion. That's one of their driving factors. That's how they get people motivated to vote. That's how they get people motivated to protest. All of these different things. It's based around fear and the unknown element, right? Well, I'm looking at an article today from Vox, Victor Oscar X-Ray. This is something that is incredibly powerful because they walk through not only, hey, this Supreme Court case is coming up, hey, this could be a problem. They straight up go into, there's going to be AR-15s on the street, people are going to have things on their tanks, it's going to be insane. Your neighbor is going to have a cannon in his Volvo. They're going full-on terror campaign on their own constituents and supporters. Check this out. I want to know what you guys think, and I personally have never seen the left this scared about something. It's linked in the description box below, and I want to hear from you on this because this is something that we're not going to see a lot in our lifetimes. And keep in mind, we shouldn't be seeing this right now. The left has complete control of all levers of power except the judiciary. This is important. Check this out. The Supreme Court case that could gut America's gun laws explained. Gut. That's pretty intense. More than a century of gun laws are potentially on the chopping block. Now, I'm going to be honest. That's not without merit. There are almost 100 years of gun laws on the books that are in violation if this goes the way that they're afraid that it's going to. And personally, it has a high chance of going in the way of gun rights. Now we're talking about the Supreme Court decision from New York. But this is important because they're starting to figure out that if this goes against them, everything unravels. This is the thread to pull the sweater. Let's keep going and look how they terrify their readers here. For nearly all of its history, the Supreme Court kept its distance from gun policy. It's kind of true. Now it's about to decide a case that could radically reduce the government's power to regulate guns, which is why we're so excited. Let's check out this next one. This is all in the setup. That all changed with the court's 5-4 decision in District of Columbia v. Heller, which held for the first time in American history that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to own a gun for personal self-defense. Now, this is important to note. Every time the left overreaches, they get slapped and it hurts them more. The Heller decision, that was based off of Washington, D.C. banning handguns outright. Well, now it's not illegal to ban handguns outright in any city. The same thing's going to happen here with may issue permits. That's what's going to happen should the Supreme Court side on the gun rights side of this case. And yet Heller was only a partial victory for the gun lobby. This is where the terror starts. The court's opinion is thick with language explaining that, quote, the right secured by the Second Amendment is not unlimited, and it even enumerates several very important limits on gun rights. Okay, so we're starting to go down the road very similarly to something we covered previously about the lethality and how dangerous certain weapons are versus aren't, because it's not about the right, it's about the details and the terror that they can wage from those details. Let's keep going. In other words, the constitutional right to own a gun is both stronger now than it was at any point in the first 217 years of the Second Amendment's history, and weak enough that state and local governments can prevent most Americans from carrying a gun on the streets and in other heavily populated areas. But that's likely to change soon. Next Wednesday, November 3rd, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. Now, that's exactly what we've been talking about for a while, but they're starting to understand the implications here. Then, this is the fun part. They actually go into, well, this case isn't even reasonable because in New York, it's easy to get a gun license. Quote, let's dive in. It's relatively easy in New York to get a license to carry a gun for limited purposes. Keep in mind, shall not be infringed. Limited purposes. The plaintiffs in the lawsuit include two men who already have a license permitting them to carry a gun to go hunting, where no people are around, for target practice, no people are around, and while in areas not, quote, frequented by the general public. One is also allowed to carry a gun while commuting to and from work. Okay, what's the point of having a gun for self-defense if there's no people around? Those squirrels, they've been pickpocketing down in Queens. Doesn't make any sense, right? But neither plaintiff obtained an unlimited carry license, and New York's courts require that someone who seeks such a license must demonstrate a special need for self-protection, distinguishing that from the general community. You got to be special, and the court and the state will decide if you're special or not, and that is where it's going to fall apart. The implications of this case go far beyond these two plaintiffs in New York State. The current court, with a 6-3 conservative supermajority, may very well dismantle the limits on the Second Amendment articulated in Heller. It could completely rewrite the federal judiciary's approach to gun rights litigation, and the court could potentially force crowded cities to adopt the same permissive gun rules that apply in the most conservative rural parts of the nation. This is a terror campaign. They are trying to motivate the protest wing. They are trying to motivate the protesting side of the Democratic Party because, alert, alert, this is scary and terrible. If you don't believe me, just watch. It's far from clear, in other words, whether there are still 5 justices who respect the mitigating language in Heller. Many of the long-standing prohibitions on gun use that are now perfectly legal could soon be declared illegal, and that's the point. They are terrified about the idea that because the Supreme Court has been almost negligent in curtailing these gun control rights, in one fell swoop, all of that energy can take and just crush their gun control dreams over the past quarter of a century to a century. And that's what I've got for you today on today's Bullet Points. And I will see you tonight at the 8 p.m. segment. I'm Braden, signing out.